Welcome back to Beyond Vision Mindset. If you've ever felt paralyzed by fear, whether it's the fear of failure, anxiety, or even just an overwhelming sense of uncertainty, then this video is for you. Today, we're diving deep into 6 powerful strategies that can help you kill your fear for good. These methods combine the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy with modern psychological techniques, empowering you to face life's challenges with courage and resilience. Fear has a way of creeping into our lives, controlling our thoughts and decisions. It keeps us stuck in our comfort zones, preventing us from reaching our full potential. But what if you could break free from the grip of fear and live a life filled with confidence and clarity? In this video, I'll walk you through 6 transformative strategies that can help you do just that. If you're tired of letting fear control your life and you're ready to take charge of your mindset, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on strategies that can help you transform your life from the inside out. Let's get started. 1. Negative visualization. How imagining the worst can liberate you. Imagine this. You're about to take a big risk. Maybe it's starting a new business, pursuing a passion, or speaking in front of an audience for the first time. The fear of failure can feel paralyzing, right? But here's the thing. Negative visualization is one of the most powerful Stoic practices to conquer fear. It's a technique that encourages you to deliberately imagine the worst-case scenario, and then, instead of feeling dread or panic, you begin to see how manageable the situation really is. This might sound counterintuitive. Why would you want to imagine the worst? Well, Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This practice allows us to confront our fears directly and realize that the imagined consequences of our actions are often much worse than what reality will actually present. When I started practicing negative visualization, I noticed a significant shift in my mindset. I'd imagine scenarios where things went terribly wrong, and when I thought about it more deeply, I realized I could handle those outcomes. They weren't nearly as catastrophic as I initially feared. Take public speaking, for example. I used to be terrified of it. My mind would spiral, imagining every possible mistake. I'd stutter, forget my lines, or embarrass myself in front of a large crowd. But when I practiced negative visualization, I forced myself to imagine the absolute worst. I fumbled my speech, people were unimpressed, and I made a fool of myself. And you know what? The worst-case scenario wasn't nearly as bad as I imagined. Even if I messed up, I would live to tell the tale. The fear of failing in front of others started to lose its grip on me because I had already mentally prepared for it. The real beauty of negative visualization is that, once you're prepared for the worst, the fear starts to fade. You realize that no matter how badly things might go, you're still going to be okay. In fact, it's liberating to face your fears head-on instead of running from them. The act of mentally preparing for failure makes it easier to take risks and push past your comfort zone without the constant weight of fear holding you back. 2. Dichotomy of control. Mastering what you can and letting go of what you can't. Fear often stems from the sense that we don't have control over what happens in our lives. The more we try to control situations, the more anxiety we feel. The dichotomy of control is a core Stoic principle that teaches us to focus on the things we can control while letting go of what's beyond our power. This simple yet profound idea can have a massive impact on how we handle fear. Epictetus taught that there are 2 categories in life. Things that are within our control, like our thoughts, actions, and responses, and things that are beyond our control, like the actions of others, natural events, or external circumstances. One of the main sources of fear comes from our desire to control things we have no power over. When I realized this, it was a game changer. For example, I used to constantly worry about other people's opinions, whether they liked me, agreed with me, or thought I was doing things the right way. I'd spend hours overthinking situations, imagining worst-case scenarios, and feeling paralyzed by the fear of others' judgments. But when I applied the dichotomy of control, I recognized that their opinions weren't in my control. What was in my control, however, was how I responded to those opinions. I could choose to not let fear of judgment stop me from being true to myself or from taking action. This realization freed me from the shackles of fear. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, I focused on controlling my reactions and mindset. I stopped stressing about things like the weather, how people would react to my decisions, or what might happen in the future. Instead, I focused on the things I could change. My thoughts, my actions, my effort, and how I respond to challenges. Once I shifted my focus, my anxiety and fear started to decrease. The more I let go of things beyond my control, the more empowered I felt to face whatever came my way. 3. Cognitive reframing. Changing your thoughts to change your fear. Fear often arises from negative thought patterns that distort reality. When we're afraid, we tend to magnify the negative aspects of situations and imagine the worst possible outcome. This is called catastrophizing, a cognitive distortion that can make fear feel much more intense than it really is. Cognitive reframing is a psychological technique that teaches us to change the way we think about situations, which in turn changes how we feel about them. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is built around the idea that your thoughts influence your emotions and behavior. By challenging negative thoughts and reframing them into something more balanced and positive, we can change how we experience fear. When I first started using this technique, I was shocked at how powerful it was. Instead of thinking, if I fail, it's the end of the world, I began to reframe that thought as, failure is part of the process. It's an opportunity for me to learn and grow. This shift in thinking changed everything. When I reframed fearful thoughts, I realized that I could handle whatever came my way. Failure didn't mean the end of the world, it was simply an opportunity for growth. When I feared starting something new, I reframed it as an opportunity to learn something valuable. And every time I reframed a negative thought, the fear became more manageable. The power of cognitive reframing lies in its ability to change your perspective. Instead of seeing fear as something to avoid, you begin to see it as something that's manageable, something that can be tackled with the right mindset. It's not about eliminating fear altogether, it's about changing your relationship with it, so it no longer holds you back from reaching your potential. 4. Voluntary discomfort. Choosing hardship to build courage. One of the most powerful ways to combat fear is to choose discomfort. It may sound strange, but by deliberately putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, you begin to build the mental fortitude to face any challenge without fear. This concept, known as voluntary discomfort, is a core Stoic practice that teaches us that hardship is an essential part of growth. Ryan Holiday, in his book The Daily Stoic, discusses how exposing yourself to discomfort can help you build resilience. For example, when I was afraid of failure, I forced myself to take on challenges that pushed me far outside of my comfort zone. I signed up for public speaking events, took cold showers, and purposely engaged in tasks that were difficult or uncomfortable. Each time I embraced discomfort, I found that I became more resilient and less fearful of the unknown. When you choose discomfort, you train your mind and body to handle stress, uncertainty, and difficulty. You start to realize that fear doesn't have to control you. It's just a natural response to stepping outside of your comfort zone. The more you expose yourself to discomfort in small ways, the easier it becomes to handle bigger challenges in the future. You begin to see fear as something you can handle rather than something that controls you. By intentionally facing discomfort, you build the courage to face your fears head-on, and you start to see discomfort not as something to avoid, but as something that strengthens you. 5. Mindfulness. Staying present to overcome anxiety. Fear thrives when we're stuck in our heads, worrying about what might happen in the future, regretting past decisions, or imagining worst-case scenarios. One of the most powerful ways to fight fear is by practicing mindfulness, the ability to stay present and aware of the current moment, without judgment or anxiety. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Practicing mindfulness helps you to focus on the present, rather than being consumed by worries about the future or past. I found that when I practice mindfulness, I'm able to step back and observe my thoughts without being overwhelmed by them. I can see the fear, but it no longer controls me. Mindfulness doesn't require hours of meditation. It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, focusing on the sensations in your body, or just observing your thoughts without judgment. When I started using mindfulness to cope with anxiety, I noticed a huge shift. I became less reactive and more able to handle stressful situations with calm and clarity. The key is to remember that fear is just a thought, and thoughts, like all things, come and go. By staying present, you can detach from the fear and reduce its power over you. Over time, you'll find that fear loses its grip, and you're able to move through life with greater confidence and peace. 6. Embrace failure as growth. Learning to fail with grace and resilience. The fear of failure is one of the most common fears we face. But what if instead of fearing failure, we embraced it as a part of the process? Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca believed that failure wasn't something to be feared, but rather an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. When I first started pursuing my goals, I was terrified of failing. But as I began to apply Stoic principles, I realized that failure was inevitable, and that it was simply part of the journey towards success. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Failure was no longer an obstacle. It became the very tool I needed to succeed. By embracing failure as an opportunity for growth, I stopped fearing it. Instead of avoiding challenges, I leaned into them, knowing that each failure was a lesson in resilience and adaptability. The more I failed and learned from those experiences, the less fear held me back. I started to view every failure as a step forward, rather than a setback. So, the next time you're afraid of failing, remember that failure isn't the end, it's part of the process. Embrace it with grace, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Thank you for watching. If these strategies resonated with you and you're ready to take control of your fear, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future videos packed with actionable insights for building resilience, emotional strength, and a courageous mindset. Which of these strategies are you going to implement first? Comment below. Let's support each other on this journey of overcoming fear and living boldly. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs it. Together, we can build a community of courageous, unstoppable individuals.